Someone asked me that yesterday. They were like, are you related to Cedric? I'm like, no. But I mean,
we are though. After the mural, we're close. We're real close.
we are. We might as well be.
We're all family.
I found that out because I pulled next to a vehicle that I thought was Tasha. I'm joking. Like, I could have been Tasha. I was like, or I know both of your vehicles. I'm that creep that's like, hi. So excited to see you. I miss people.
Miss people.
But also, I want to be a recluse. It's odd.
Story of my life. Miss people and want to stay in the house. I get it.
I was like, pink party. Or pajamas.
You need your own TV show, Adoria.
You know what? I'm gonna work on it.
I feel like they could set cameras in your house and we would catch all the crap.
Oh, let me tell you something. Someone was like, I could just watch your family because you're nuts. I'm working on that. Once, tell somebody that I'm dope. Tell them. And then tell them to pay me.
All right. Are you guys all ready to get started here?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. This is the Creative Conversations, the Catalyst of Black Art event. This is an event that's put on annually by the Cincinnati Emerging Art Leaders for the Arts and Humanities Month, which is October. So we are very, very excited to have some of the leading artists from the Black Lives Matter mural that was created in Cincinnati this past summer. We have on with us Adoria Maxberry, Cedric Cox, Asha White, Latausha Cox, Vinay Duncan, and Brandon Hawkins. These are only, I think there was 17 total artists that work on this mural. Each of them had their own letter. Couldn't get all of them on today, just because I think it would just take hours and hours to go over everybody's experiences and things. So we got a few of you guys here to discuss your experiences with us and kind of, that event, it was such a great networking and just a huge collaboration from all these different people in the community and people that didn't know each other beforehand. So we're here to kind of listen to your guys' experience, one, kind of creating the mural, but also kind of moving forward from it. Kind of what has your work, life, art been since then? And so I'm gonna introduce everybody here individually. We have Cedric Michael Cox with us here. Cedric, if you wanna raise your hand there. He is best known for his paintings and drawings, which fall between surrealism and representational abstraction. As a student at the University of Cincinnati's College of Design, Architecture, Art, and Planning, Cox was awarded a fellowship to study at the Glasgow School of Art in Scotland. After receiving his BFA in painting in 1999, he began to exhibit locally and regionally. Cox's paintings catapult color into rhythmic action with abstract and recognizable images that create compositions inspired by themes in music and the natural world. His work remains true to sharing Cox's innermost self and radiates passion from the canvas. Working under several influences, which include architecture and art history, his work ranges from the geometric to the curvilinear to floor-like forms, all dancing within surrealistic shapes. This is not Cox's first mural project. He has done multiple, several large scale public murals in the Cincinnati region, and he has exhibitions including the Cincinnati Arts Center of Cincinnati, the Western Art Gallery, the Columbus Art Museum, the Dayton Art Institute, 5 Miles Gallery in Brooklyn, Museum of Science and Industry and Gallery in Chicago, the Taft Museum of Art, and this past in 2019, he was at the 21C Museum Hotel in Cincinnati. And this year he has a solo exhibition at the James Ratliff Gallery in Sedona, Arizona. Cox's, you did the E and the matter part of the mural. And then we have Adoria Maxberry. She is a visual artist and educator based in Cincinnati. The Houston native is the owner of Most Outgrowing LLC, an organization dedicated to helping others grow spiritually, mentally, and creatively through art. Her work as an arts educator and civic leader reflects her company initiative to foster unique and meaningful art experiences with a focus on creativity, exploration, and reflection. She further emphasizes the importance of individual and communal growth through creative consulting and commissioned pieces throughout the greater Cincinnati area. Her scholastic achievements include a Master of Visual Arts Education and licensure from the University of Cincinnati, and a Bachelor's of Arts degree in Communication Arts, Public Relations from the Xavier University. She was acknowledged by DAP as a 2020 School of Art Outstanding Graduate Student. She and her husband, Brian, encouraged her 3 beautiful children, Addison, Brian III, and Charlie, to shine in the face of adversity by bringing truth and positivity to the most dim situations to change the world. I think that's great. Next, we have Asha White. Asha is a self-taught artist living in Cincinnati. She paints using oil on canvas to create abstract and surrealistic imagery that connects people through shared experiences and stories. In addition to her own canvas works, Asha enjoys curating exhibition and has created public works. Asha is currently working on a series called Moody Monday, where she reflects on her mood weekly, focusing on mental health. You can view this body of work on Instagram at her handle, Asha the Artist, or on Facebook at Asha Amani. And Asha created the second T in matter. Next, we have Latausha Cox. She is an illustrator, educator, researcher who seeks to influence and transform students through engaging, meaningful art practices. She believes people of color are not represented in many resources and visual content related to art education. To provide a bridge between teachers and students of color, she has began researching strategies to unite the individual with cultural identity that is celebrated and illuminates a voice. She uses illustrations to narrate her own racial journey, which reveals gaps within the field of education. Latausha did the E in lives. Next, we have Vinay Duncan. Vinay is creator of Toon Spray, originates from Dayton, Ohio, and currently resides in Cincinnati. She is self-taught artist that uses cartoons and a semi-realistic art style to create traditional and digital artwork. Self-discovery and total healing are 2 components she hopes personify through her work. In viewing her art, she hopes to challenge others to see that there is always room to grow. Her overall desire is to continually develop, which allowing her art to speak and promote change, growth, and peace. Vinay did the V in lives. And then last but not least, we have Brandon Hawkins. Brandon is a visual artist and instructor with over 13 years of experience. He has his Bachelor's of Art from the University of Cincinnati and from their College of Arts and Science and African American Studies. Brandon has also earned his certificate in fine arts from the School of DAP. Infusing his love for history and arts, Brandon has created his own ilzotic. Is that how you say that, Brandon? There we go. Technique for art and design. While fine-tuning his craft, Brandon has found time to teach and mentor young artists at his church and neighboring communities. Him and his wife have launched their own company called Soul Palette, which is a unique mobile concept of customizable painting experiences. Brandon's led Artworks Apprentice as a project manager for multiple different murals throughout the Cincinnati area. And he is a visual art instructor at Elements as well. Brandon's ultimate mission and dream is to bless others with his talent for painting and arts. He did the B in black for the mural. Okay, I think that's enough of me talking here. I'm gonna hand it over to you guys. We're gonna start with Adoria here, Maxberry. And once again, before we even start, thank you guys for doing this, and ready to listen and learn.
And full disclosure, my little brother's helping me find my phone right now. So I keep going off and on the screen. I'm like, stop calling me. I forgot you can't call me. So I apologize for that, guys.
No worries.
But my name's Adoria Maxberry. As you said a whole bunch of cool things about me, but I was just really excited to receive a text message one Sunday evening, I want to say, from a friend saying, hey, are you interested in taking part in this mural? Like, yes. I would be interested in doing that. I had literally, I want to say 2 days before, talked to my husband about it. He said, if there is a Black Lives Matter mural in Cincinnati, you need to be a part of it. I'm like, okay. So noted. When that aligns, I will, yeah, sure, I'll be the first one to hop on that. But hadn't heard of anything, and we both said, like, we'll make that, like, we'll touch and agree on that and pray. And literally 2 days after that, I got that text. And so I found myself later on a call with several other artists, and I knew a few, Tasha and Brandon and Cedric. And I was like, okay, this is dope. This is exciting. And then I got to meet so many other amazing artists like Asha and Vinay, and I mean, all 17. So it was exciting realizing that there are so many artists here in the city that look like me. Like, I'm aware of my students and those that we teach in Cincinnati Public Schools, and like just around and about our city, there are a million people that are making and creating and are doing amazing things, but often aren't getting recognized or being seen. So it was an honor to be one of those people that was asked. So as far as getting that call, we had a very rapid schedule, and from there started kind of drawing ideas, and then realized that, okay, there's a poem associated with it, and that kind of changed around the idea. So when it came time to start sketching, I had a few different ideas about how do I show family and the importance of seeing your family grow into a full life legacy, and seeing your children grow into adults. And that was the prompt that resonated with me. We had the option of selecting a prompt that resonated with you and selecting a letter. Didn't realize that the M was the size that it was when I selected it. I just said, if there's a letter that I could choose, M for most outgrowing, M for Maxberry, like, yeah. And everyone's like, you picked the A? I'm like, no, I didn't. I was strategic and thinking like BLM. Well, M is right there on the corner. Like, yeah, honey, that part. So I realized after we scaled it out and looked at the M, I'm like, this is a little bit larger than I anticipated. So I remember Tasha and I walking out into the street, my front yard, and like pacing it, and our neighbors are looking out like, what are they doing? I'm like, hey guys, I'm just walking in the middle of the street for no reason, trying to figure out how big this is going to be. And I picked my team based on, thinking through who knows my heart, who knows the sound of my voice. They're not traditionally artists in the sense that you would think of as visual artists, but they know me in my direction and are able to carry that out. So then I had volunteers that were amazing. So I can't forget the volunteer team that just kind of was assigned either to our letter, or people were like, can we help out? And I just, like, there are so many names that I don't want to just name one, but it was an amazing kind of experience. That was turned around rapidly. Like, I moved pretty fast. I've done murals in one day, but not to the scale, I think, of that one, without a projector and with just gridding it and kind of being more horizontal, I guess, in nature versus vertical. A lot of my substrates are, you know, upright, and I'm able to project on them and trace or grid easily. So being hands and knees and on the ground, I got to become one with the piece. And I will say the Walnut Hills chalk drawing contest back in like 2004 probably was the last time that I was like on the ground doing a large scale mural-esque piece. Yeah.
Sounds great. And I'm going to share for everybody kind of what the mural looks like, and so we can have a little reference from it. But how has, you know, you own your own company, Outgrowing, or most Outgrowing.
It's okay.
Has, you know, from making all those connections, creating that mural, and then with your company, has it kind of intermingled at all? Has it grown from that event and meeting all those different people or anything, or changed at all?
It definitely has grown. I still maintain the private students that I had before, and given the nature of COVID, I wanted to make sure that I'm still being responsible. And during this climate, I actually have turned down requests because I had to be concerned with my family and caregiving for my mom, who actually passed not too long ago from cancer. I did not want to open myself up to getting her sick. So I will say that it has created a great deal of exposure and created a great deal of opportunities that I know that will propel me even further, but I haven't done as much as I anticipated doing post-mural for obvious reasons.
Yeah, that makes absolute sense.
But I will say it's been interesting going into venues, and I had one of my team members with me, and they were like, she's being modest, she did the mural, the Black Lives Matter mural downtown. I'm like, no, I'm just me. He's like, oh, you're famous for real. And like verbatim. I was like, oh, well, thanks. So like having that Cincinnati notoriety is kind of cool, because I'm still just Adoria in my head, and I think I always will be, but it's kind of neat being recognized.
Yeah, I think all of you, I think, are superstars for doing this, but it was a huge event in Cincinnati, and I think, you know, we've associated a lot of names with it, and people kind of recognize those names now, kind of moving forward from it. I think it's impacted a lot of people's lives with that being as well. Awesome. That's great. And kind of moving forward here, Cedric, have you had any kind of common experiences with that as well? You're a pretty big name in Cincinnati already. So
like common experiences, like where people recognize you because of the mural, and is that what you mean?
Or that, and more of like moving forward from it, how has that kind of impacted your kind of work, or has it shifted your art practice at all?
You know, because of the mural, a lot of different organizations have been approaching me that would not normally approach me before. I think there's now a broader range of networking within the community, within our brand of artists, Black Art Speaks. There is a camaraderie and information being shared between all of us on things that are happening with different art organizations, different opportunities with different other businesses. Because now we're a group, and because of this experience, and we have mobilized communications with each other. we are now all grouped in with one another. For example, I had a show at Casa Sykes Gallery, which is my 20-year retrospective. And some of the members of Black Art Speaks came there, so they were able to network with the gallery and build a relationship there. There was another situation where I was invited to do a commission from somebody in the group who couldn't handle so much stuff that was happening for them. So it's just all these different things are happening. But my work, what I was working on while I was doing this project was I was doing 64 paintings for Children's Hospital, along with 30 or so paintings for Casa Sykes Gallery for my 20-year retrospective. So this mural came as something that was, I was rolling with everything fine. Then this mural came, I was like, oh goodness, a mural. Then I found out the subject matter of it and the timeliness of it and what it was about and the things that are shifting and changing in the world and America. And I was like, wow, before I could say I want to be a part of it, it just came to me. I believe on a Sunday afternoon, G. Horton sent me over information about it, and then I missed the email or something like that. I didn't see it till Monday. Then I called him, and he's like, "Well, get on the conference call." And that Monday of the week of the mural, we were just brainstorming. I was seeing a lot of familiar faces and a lot of supportive people and really cool people. And then they started talking about the turnaround of it, and that's when I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "What's going on here?" All of the turnaround was like, "Okay, have your sketch ready by Tuesday." And then after your sketch is ready, be prepared to either put it in color or we're going to make the proposal to the city. I think that Tuesday evening or that Wednesday morning. I think it was, what day did we start on it, guys? Was it Thursday? I think we were on mute, some of us.
I want to say it was Wednesday evening.
That's right, Wednesday evening. So Wednesday evening, we started drawing a little bit, and I wasn't freaking out till like Thursday evening. And that's when I started looking at, my mural and just what it was, like any artist who's serious about what they're doing, you start having self-doubt. You start questioning your idea, your design, I have a lot of art school in my head, and a lot of art school stuff is bogus. If just to put it politely, it's very, sometimes it demeans you and you kind of question yourself, but at the same time, that fear and anxiety kind of at the same time guides you into getting your grip, feeling good about your original design and going for it. But I remember driving to work on that Thursday, driving to the mural morning. Our mayor was on the news along with the mayor from Fort Wright, Kentucky, and another mayor from another city, I think Detroit. And they were asking each mayor their position on Black Lives Matter. And our mayor was the only mayor that said, well, we have a mural outside of City Hall. We practice what we preach here in the city. And I love that. This mayor has always been supportive of the arts and of my work and just every, artist's work in the city. So it was just a great experience. I mean, every little second, it was kind of like a homecoming to different organizations that we all have worked with, like Artworks and stuff like that. But my letter E itself was just was based around. They actually, after everybody chose what they wanted, I was left with E. I would think I was the last person with the letter E, and actually the phrase from the poem, which was to provide for my family or to provide for a family. And the name of the poem is "We Want What You Want," and then the phrases relate to what we want that you want. So my phrase was to provide for my family. That's what it was. And so immediately I just came up with this concept and this design of a family standing together, and this tree of life blooming from their existence in their core. The tree representing roots, the tree representing lineage, prosperity, strength, stability, and the core of the family. And things that I remember being told when I was a young man growing up from my mother and father about how to conduct myself in times of tribulation, which is definitely what we're in right now, and how we can use this as a tool to better ourselves, and to work harder and to be better and to teach others what we know and pass it on like the leaves on the tree, like the lineage, like time. the mural itself, the whole experience was just fantastic. But yeah, it has been a springboard into other things, and the team I worked with was phenomenal. And it was just a wonderful experience, and I'm really grateful to be included in it. I mean, there's so many things that happen. I want to do it all. I've been known to like bite on more than I can chew. And, you know, there's a lot of things I see on the outside looking in. I want to do that. I want to do that. I wish I would did that. What would I have done if I were to do that? And I'm so very happy that I was invited to be a part of this and to do it. So I'm very honored.
Yeah, and I'll share your piece here real quick. Can everybody see that? Can you guys see it? Yeah. It's incredible. And I wasn't exactly sure of everybody who was doing it, who was creating the mural. I knew it was a group of artists. I've seen your work before, and right when I passed over, I was like, wait, that's Cedric Cox. And then, yeah, it looks incredible.
Thank you. Well, Brandon was, you know, sometimes you don't know what colors you're going to use, but Brandon made it real clear that we were in the green section. And so I was like, well, I got to have a lot of green, light green, dark green, you know, yellow, green. And then everything else was just something that I hoped that I could bring in that had some flavor to it. Yeah, so Brandon's leadership was on point, you know, from the first day. He was just, people were standing around, and he just told me, he's like, man, I don't like this standing around and just, you know, get busy. So I had my team, we just started taping down everybody's border. And I, just like Adoria said, you know, when we actually realized the size of these things, I was like, you know, some letters are looking smaller than others. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, we got this. I was telling my team, oh, we got this, man. Our lead, we'll be done with this in a day. We got this. And then we started, I think it was the couple of letters around us that got started before our E. And I was like, wow, these are massive. And then it was like 19 by 19 feet and like basically two and a half days to finish. So I'm very, very grateful that, you know, through the rain, it poured on some days, and we all worked together as a team to get the flimsy plastic on top of the ground where runoff water. I mean, we just worked as a team, and it was just amazing how it just happened. And it wasn't, none of us were like painting to the last minute. Everybody looked good when the mural was done. We all were smiling. Mm-hmm. We all, you know, had our best shirt on, and we looked good when it was over. It was a blessing. It was awesome. So, yeah.
How many people were on your team? Was it pretty much the same for everybody, or?
I think about 4. I think, wasn't it 4 was a standard number, 3 or 4, and then a whole bunch of volunteers.
I think there was a standard. I think we said like minimum of 3 or 4 people, but I do believe that one of us had like one person helping them. We had to kind of corral some other folks to help that individual. And then I know myself, being the project manager and having a letter, I had like 7 or 8 people because working in shifts, because I knew I wasn't going to get to paint. So I think it was the way everybody delegated their own teams. It was a beautiful thing. I will say, I know it's not my turn to talk, but I'm talking.
It's okay.
I will say this, out of all the people that I watched work, and I just got to meet some of these folks, and I love that I got to meet so many people, I was particularly proud of Asha White and her working with Soul Palette. I love working with her through our business, and I love watching her do her thing in her own her own artistry and her own business. But then to watch her kind of was like, oh, she said, I can't paint myself. I said, yeah, you don't get to paint. I said, you get to lead your team and watch them paint. And so as I came back around to help Asha, like, she wasn't sweating as much. She was a little more calm. And I saw everybody on her team working, doing what she wanted them to do. And I was so proud. And then just to kind of, you know, step back and watch everybody doing that, I was just proud of the whole team. It was beautiful to watch come together.
Oh, great. Well, that's a good segue. We'll have Asha. We'll put you on the spot next then. Was this the first mural that you've done, whether it be vertical or horizontal?
Of my own doing. First of all, thank you, Brandon. That's so kind of you. So as Brandon, so I've done murals with him as well, but kind of just to back it up a little bit, like explain to you guys, like how I even got to the point of the mural. About 4 years ago now, I was working in corporate banking and I was not happy. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to make a shift in my whole career. So I quit my full-time job for a part-time job at a fine art print shop. And just was like, I'm gonna really put, you know, my heart into art and grinded and networked and met people. G. Horton was a big connector of people. I met him through my fine art print job. I know Brandon's wife, and so that's how I got connected with Soul Palette. That was kind of like, even before I left my job, like, let me get in somewhere, you know what I mean? So this has been like a really long 3 years of just meeting people, getting different experiences. So to have the mural come about after all of these experiences was like, just like God's timing, you know what I mean? Like, so I've worked on a lot of murals, to answer your question, with Brandon, but nothing of my own design, certainly nothing on the ground. So it was a big, like, just mindset adjustment. I think, like Brandon talked about, I'm used to being in the artist space, and you really change from just being the sole artist to being a director of people. Here's my vision. Let me help you execute upon my vision. So that was a whole new learning experience, something that was really good. I've received that direction. So having received that, you know, from Brandon was really helpful to then turn around and give that direction to other people. And Brandon talked about me sweating kind of at the beginning. When we first started, when we planned everything out, we didn't really know that there were some regulations as far as like moving traffic and how the street lines had to still be visible, and the street lines ran right in the middle of my design. And I'm like, I had my perfect plan, everything's gridded out, I know what I'm gonna do. And then like, and I'm already kind of nervous, like this is my first solo mural situation. And I'm like, okay, let's figure it out or whatever. And Brandon's running all around. I'm like, all right, Asha, you got to figure it out for yourself. Like, how are we going to get this done? And, you know, we figured it out, like brainstormed with my team, talked to the letter next to me, kind of had some of the same issues, the other team, talked to them and just figured it out, and like really got in my groove definitely after that first day, and like having milestones in mind that I wanted to make sure we hit each night before we left for the day. Definitely huge shout out to my I had two like core people and then volunteers that came in, but Courtney Green, who I met, she used to work with me at my fine art print job. And then I asked her, I was like, look, I need help, like help me find some artists. She reached out to one of her art school friends, Day Williams. They were like, there are no words for how amazing they were at really executing my vision and checking in with me and making great executive decisions. Like it was a dream. It was like we caught like lightning in a bottle. Isn't that like the expression? Like it was just an amazing moment in time. Like even so when COVID happened, I got laid off from the fine art print job, and I was set to start a new job on that Monday, on the 22nd or something like that. So like even I wouldn't even had the ability to be a part of this project had everything just not lined up. Like I love Adoria's story, just talking about how she talked to her husband about it, and then boom, 2 days later. Like I feel like it was a lot of just divine alignment that allowed this project to come about. So that was really amazing.
That sounds incredible. Just kind of the journey that got you started with it. I'm going to share your sketch here, then also kind of the mural, and point out which letter was yours. Do you mind talking a little bit about kind of the inspiration behind it?
The poem was, we want the women in our lives to be seen as equals to the women in your lives. So I just wanted to display women in all of these different positions. So if you see from going from left to right, I've got an activist, I've got a chef, a judge, a grandmother, I have a doctor up top, general down at the bottom, a young girl, and kind of just like a hipster girl off to the right. Just, we are everything in everyone's life. You know what I mean? I don't care what your race is. You know somebody in this mural that looks like somebody in your life and you love them and you want them to be treated well. So that's the same thing that we hope for as well. And then another really important thing for me to highlight was all of the women with their natural hair. And one thing that really stood out to me, I've been natural for, God, I don't even know, over 10 years. And I know one apprehension I have in first going natural was that I don't want to be seen as less beautiful. I don't want other people to think I'm unprofessional, that I'm unkept. And so I wanted to show all of these women in all these various positions in life really highlighting their natural hair, because we can be just as professional, just as educated, just as accomplished, regardless of what our hair looks like. And it's beautiful the way that it grows out of our hair. So I thought that was a really important thing to highlight, outside of just these are Black women with full lips and full noses. They have beautiful natural hair and they're still doing their thing. So
I think that's great. Yeah, it's a great representation of what you said. I think it was executed very well. You did a great job for being kind of your first kind of mural design. That was one of my favorites.
oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Next, Latausha, would you want to talk a little bit about kind of your mural design and kind of the kind of influence behind it? Kind of what poem or part of the poem was it?
Sure. Well, on my design, there is, it starts off at the bottom with a disengaged student who, as you move up in the design, it shows how if you're pouring in funding and investing in students and along with community support, we'll be able to give the proper tools to be successful in education and in life. And so a little bit of my backstory is that as an artist, art has been a very white space for me. I grew up, all of my art classes, I was taught by only white people. I worked alongside only white people. I learned about only white artists. So this experience for me was actually the first time that I've ever collaborated with Black artists. And it was something that really bothered me because I felt like just in this community and just in general, it's like when you're working with Black artists, only the same Black artists do all the Black art, all the projects. Those are the ones that get the opportunities. And so it's really bothered me because I'm like, I have all kinds of skill and I can do all kinds of things, but those doors have not been open to me to participate or collaborate in those spaces. And so this was the first time. And I'm so excited that it finally happened and that these opportunities have come. But I feel like this is sad too. It's a sad story that this hasn't happened sooner, that Black artists have not come together and worked together, or that opportunities for Black artists have not been bigger than what they are right now. So, this mural for me was big. It was important to my career and to my exposure as an artist, and also to my voice, because I've been working towards trying to unleash my voice through my art. And I feel like in so many ways I've been held back from in all different ways. And so I'm very honored that I was selected to be a part of this and that someone thought enough about me to put my name out there, because it never happens for me. And so for someone to just say Tasha is one of the artists that can do this was very special. And I don't take that for granted at all. I don't. So as far as my design.
I'll show it here real quick on screen too.
Okay. But as far as my design, so when I was growing up, I went to like all white schools and I had a really good education. And so the line from the poem is, that we want to walk into a place of education and know it is truly used for education, or truly used to educate. And so I know, like, I grew up in Hamilton. So at the time, my elementary was like the top elementary. And then when I left and went to middle school, my school, the kids from my school was bused across town to the middle school there, which was completely different. It was like the elementary that I had grown up in. We had all the best. It was brand new books every year, great resources. Parents were involved, teachers were very committed and had very high expectations for their students. And then I get bused to this other school and the building is run down. The teachers, I can't even remember my teachers from that school. Like the kids, the students just needed a lot, and it was overwhelming to experience the complete opposite of a situation for education in the same city. So I actually selected this. I asked for the letter E specifically for education because I felt like that was an area that really needed to be highlighted, and especially now that I am an art educator, I just really wanted to focus on that area in particular.
Who do you work as an art educator? Do you work with a certain population or like age range of kids?
Well, I work in community art, so all different ages. But right now I'm getting my teaching license. So I'm currently student teaching at Hughes, which has been very interesting doing it online because they're in the building, but I cannot be. So I am on a screen and kind of using my mentor teacher as my hands. But yeah, so I've been exposed to all different students in all different ages.
Have you seen kind of with, bringing this topic up of disparities within education with race, have you seen anything that's not necessarily fixed the problem, but has addressed it and has been a positive outcome with it? Kind of whether it's been working with this mural or just your experiences in general?
I've definitely had more opportunities since the mural has happened, where I'm just getting, even like through social media, where someone will just send me a message asking me to be a part of something, well, actually at the mural, while I was painting, there was an organization that the leader or one of the leaders from the organization came up to me and was like, "Have you ever worked with us before?" And I'm like, "I actually tried to several years ago, but you passed me up." And they're like, "Oh, we need you to work with us." So it's just that, like, now I'm, for some reason, because I participated in the mural, now my artwork has more value to the community, when before it hasn't changed. I'm the same artist, but now people think that there's something more valuable there. And so therefore I'm getting contacted. So, I've been the same Latausha Cox and I've had the same talent. But now that I've been a lead artist on this mural, the city of Cincinnati sees me as more valuable.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
quite bad. Sorry, did you say something, Cedric? Or
Oh, I said well said. I said well said.
there's I think, we all have that talent there, and it's the same sometimes that it takes the media, or we all have talent and value, and it takes either that price tag or kind of just the right person to see that, which is a shame, which I think is also a little bit kind of within the education system, with these kids that don't have the same opportunities or kind of see the people the same color, same background as them, and kind of leadership role, they can't quite kind of put themselves there as well and see the value in themselves. But yeah, Thank you, Latausha. That's great. Next, we have Vinay. You and me kind of talked a little bit earlier before we started, and you said you do not paint at all. And
I do now, but
yep, now you do now, and now you do this. You've done this kind of large scale mural on the ground for the first time. What was kind of your segue, or how were you introduced into the mural making, and what was your experience doing that?
yeah, it was an amazing whirlwind experience. I'll never forget everything that happened. Someone put me in a Facebook group. Someone that I went to church with put me in a group with about 10 other people asking if we were interested in the mural, but keep it private. We were just trying to see who was interested. And immediately I'm like, now why would she put me in this group? But then I'm like, okay, she sees me draw at church. Maybe she thinks I can do it. And I thought about it the whole night. I've always wanted to do something like that. But again, it's just like, how do you even learn? And then when will the opportunity come like that? So I was just drawing because I like to draw. I didn't know anyone was taking notice or that anything would happen. So I thought about it the entire night and I was like, I'm going to do this. Even if it's bad, like you have to start somewhere. So I know I'll look back in 20 years and maybe my murals will be more amazing. This one, I'll try is how I felt. So I joined the Zoom call just like everybody else, met all the artists and completely had to push my, not even pride, because I was feeling my self-esteem was so attacked. I'm just like, I'm not ready. I'm not capable. I've never painted. But the group of people with all their accomplishments and fine art degrees and all this amazing stuff, like they were so encouraging to me. This group of people were so encouraging. Brandon's like, you're not going to quit. G. Horton told me, if you can draw on paper, you can paint. So I'm just like, really? So I spent the next 2 days after we submitted our sketch. I then had to try to figure out, how do I paint it? So I got on YouTube. I asked questions amongst a few of the artists. I learned what gridding was. I learned all kinds of stuff in those few days. And when it was time to tackle it, my sister came, and she doesn't paint either. She hardly even draws anymore. But I had her. I'm like, we can figure this out together. And then they hooked me up with another artist that I did not know. So that was it for my letter. There were 3 of us working on it who never had any mural experience, but the other artist we brought in, she at least knew how to paint. So we kind of combined it all together. When we got out there, the letter was bigger than we thought it would be. I had to almost flip my design to make it make sense. So I thought I was going to be drawing on one side, but then I had to flip it to another side. So it was just a lot of freaking out going on, but it was a good thing because it kept us on our toes and it kept us ready. So by the time it was all said and done, just like Cedric said, that second day, I'm like, oh, mine's the worst one out here. I should just go home. There was all kinds of doubt, but I learned talking to him, because he was right below me. I'm at the V, he's below me at the E. Talking to him, I learned, like, actually, no matter how long you were in the game, this experience is going to make you feel that way. Like, how you're feeling is completely normal. It's part of the process. So I started feeling a lot more calm, and there was just so much unity amongst the artists and the volunteers and the people who put us together, that it was divine. It was lightning in a bottle. It wasn't anything we could have created, and it worked out so perfect. Everything worked out perfect.
That's a great story. How moving forward from that, and that being such a dive into the process of working with other artists, creating a mural, painting, has that influenced you at all, kind of moving forward from it?
Yes. So the first thing I did, because I always draw on my iPad, and now I had actually painted, I'm like, I want an easel. I want some canvases. I want some paint. I went out, I got brushes. I made a little setup. Since the mural, I've painted, I want to say 3 different things so far. And I'm just trying to learn how it works. I went back to YouTube and I'm watching Bob Ross, like how I did when I was a kid. Like, I want to learn everything there is to learn. But on top of that, the subject matter, knowing that we did something so historical and monumental, now I'm also studying up on the history. how did these laws come to pass? What does this mean for us as a people? And I'm just trying to educate myself all the way around so that my art now has intention behind it. Like, I'm not just drawing for fun anymore. Everything I do has intention now, is how I feel.
That's great that it has, it kind of, you know, it's impacted your life within your art itself. It's kind of changed why you create art, or
Yes.
more kind of influenced it a little bit more directly.
I agree.
That's awesome. Have you kind of made any strong, you know, this was a huge kind of different networks of kind of community leaders and artists that were pretty prominent in the area. Has it made any kind of special connections with anybody that you kind of stay in touch with? Yes,
within our group, when I was feeling some kind of way about just not being prepared, even after the mural, we all have stayed connected. I flat out said, like, I was, you know, I really wish I could have a mentor. Somebody from the group reached out and said, I will be your mentor. And that person has done that for me, and opened up opportunity for me to come and be in their space and watch them paint and paint with them and other groups of people. That's been helpful, and not something that I thought that I would get so quickly. So I have that. And then Alandis, who, you know, helped organize our group and who did the poem, she works at Fifth Third Bank like I work. So now she's like, if you need a work mentor. It's just been so many divine connections out of this group, very seriously. So I've been happy. It's been really awesome for me.
That sounds great. Just to kind of show your V here real quick.
Yes.
Would you mind kind of telling us kind of the backstory, kind of what part of the poem
Sure.
and backstory here real quick?
The line of the poem I had was for the things that oppress people like me to be lifted. And so when I was first drawing it, because I didn't have like a picture in my head when I started. My process is usually to just go in and see what happens. So I was drawing, and I knew I wanted a woman's face. I didn't know who, but I eventually used Sandra Bland. That's whose face it was. And so I wanted her to be looking up towards something, but still showing anguish and oppression, but yet hope, because we're looking up. I didn't know what she would be looking up at, but my husband is like, some kind of something symbol of freedom. So we start Googling symbols of freedom, and that symbol came up. So I'm like, okay, awesome, put that there. And then I just was thinking about the words. Like, when I think about things that oppress me, I don't have too many experiences where I feel like deeply oppressed, but I'm like, those microaggressions get on my nerves, racism gets on my nerves. I'm just thinking about those little things that secretly oppress us. And I just wanted to kind of write about those. Now, as you see from the sketch to when it got down on the paper, on the ground, I had to flip her face around, and I had more space to fill up. My original sketch didn't make sense anymore. I didn't want those small words in there. I wanted just big, bold stop, because I was saying stop to the microaggression, stop to the racism, stop to those things. And they really are acts of violence. It's mental violence. So I'm like, stop that. So as I'm working with the girl on the ground, I'm like, okay, maybe you can put this here. Like, a lot of stuff with my mural happened in the moment because it wasn't the original sketch. We had people all the way down from the other side coming down to help us make sure that things were lined up properly for that symbol in the middle. And once that was there, it just still felt so empty, because as you're walking around and I'm looking at everyone else's letter, I'm like, okay, I see I'm supposed to kind of fill this up. So I'm learning as I go. And then Cedric had a ladder, so I could go up on his ladder and look down, and I'm like, this needs more. So I'm like, okay, fill this with tribal. Let's do this, but let's keep it clean. Let's keep it simple. And I love how it came out, but that wasn't the original design, but that was the intent, and it was purposeful.
How was it kind of leading a team of people?
I was like, for me,
kind of, you had a team of kind of volunteers under you, correct?
I just had my sister, which that's just my sister. I can lead her all day. And then I had one other girl who I had never met. Our gel was so good. I still talk to her almost every day. Our gel was so good. It really just felt like I was hanging out with my friends. Whereas I've worn a project management hat in different industries, never art-wise, but I definitely know how to direct people. This didn't feel like this. This was just straight vibes and good communication the whole time.
I think that's what it made, you know, it go so smoothly a huge project instead of short amount of time, because everybody was on the same page. Everybody, you know, it was kind of under the same mission, wanted to be go in the same direction, and have the same, you know, everybody had the same vibe. And I think that was a huge part of the success of it going so well. Moving on to kind of the powerhouse of, you know, putting the whole kind of project together, being kind of a big geared towards it. Brandon, we've kind of talked already a little bit before it, but could you talk a little bit about kind of being involved in the initial stages of creating the mural?
So, you know, as everybody keeps talking about, we had this Zoom call on a Sunday. And when we all jumped on this Zoom call, I didn't know who all was going to be a part of this. I kind of had an idea and I talked to a few people. But when we got on the Zoom call, it was cool to see some new faces. And, you know, I was like, you know, this is cool. We're going to do a Black Lives Matter mural. And the funny thing is that I guess maybe a week or two before we got this going, I just kept thinking, like a lot of us did, like, man, it would be really cool if Cincinnati did a Black Lives Matter mural. And then I got a phone call. I've got family all over the country, as a lot of us do. I've got family in DC and Philly and, you know, Florida and all over the place in the South. And one of my cousins was like, you know, I hear Cincinnati's going to be doing one, and her city had done one. Matter of fact, she's from DC. So, you know, they had the big, huge one going straight into the White House. And so that set the marker. And she was like, you know, talking greasy on the phone, like, you know, it's Cincinnati, like, you know, it's going to be like Cincinnati, you know. I was like, what? Nah, bruh. It was like that. I hadn't gotten a phone call yet, but that right there had me like, yo, if Cincinnati does one, I hope that I'm a part of it, because we about to dust everybody off. So it became, when I got the phone call that, look, I want to be a part of this. They said, Brandon, will you be a part? I was like, yeah, for sure. I was like thinking, like, what letter am I going to do? You know, I'm going through my head, like, am I going to be angry black man Brandon, or am I going to be, you know, Christian, you know, take it on the cheek black man Brandon? Like, what am I going to be in this piece? You know, it was, you know, Adoria, you know, they were both on my shoulders, you know, both of these people talking to me, you know, and and so when we got on the Zoom call, somebody said, Brandon, you've done a lot of murals, you've led a lot of murals, you should be project manager. And I was like, oh no, you know, like I'm really, like, I can't be the artist, but, you know, my mama ain't raised no punk. So, you know, I can't back down from this. And not only can I not back down from it, but I'm still going to do a letter. I'm still going to do one. Maybe it might not be as deep as I wanted it to be. But so as the process got started and I got to start knowing people, and get to knowing Tashana and Alandis, the two, they were the real powerhouses of this group, putting this thing together, raising all that money. It became very aware. Like, I became very aware. It became evident to me how serious and how important what we were getting ready to do was. Being in a college atmosphere, adapt. I had Cedric Cox and Terrence Corbin over me, and, you know, in my undergrad, Cedric was in his getting his master's degree at the time, and Terrence was one of my teachers, and so you can ask Cedric, you know, being through critiques, you know, I was pretty edgy with some of my artwork, but I started thinking, this is that where I was coming from back then during the Timothy Thomas days, being really angry back in 2000, 2001, like, I can reach back to that and really bring that into play now. But also being someone who was, you know, I've taught a lot of paint parties and, you know, had to do team building events. And then even having to, you know, work in management with Sherwin-Williams, a paint company. I mean, God couldn't have put it together any better. You know, just like they were saying, it was like lightning in a bottle. I felt like even within myself, this was lightning in a bottle. So the process from, you know, Zoom call to the day of painting was, you know, gut wrenching. I think I lost about, you know, 7 or 8 pounds. I didn't sleep much. Alandis Powell kept texting me like, yeah, P&G gave $50 million. And then, you know, Delta, you know, they're going to fly us in from your house. Girl, you know, you only live right off 275, but we're going to fly you in on a helicopter. You know, I mean, I was like, oh my gosh, like all this, she ain't say all that, but all this is being donated for such an important cause. It just started like putting the pressure on me, you know what I'm saying, as I was trying to get this thing together. You know, we had a few hiccups, you know, in the middle of the night, and other people didn't really know about all these things. You know, some of the things where the city doesn't allow you to draw on the, or paint on the street lines. And so all that being said, you know, we got there day of, and honestly, after everything, after all that planning, we hit the ground and all these people started showing up. I thought I was going to be so nervous. It felt like Friday night varsity, like high school football, basketball before the whistle. Man, I could like hear my sneakers like screeching on the floor, like in my head. And I got so, like, even talking about it, I am amped right now. I'm 40 right now. I could dunk with 2 hands like I was 17, 18. You know what I'm saying? Like I could still do it like right now. You know, but I was
Don't hurt yourself.
Adoria. We don't
Sorry.
it's on that. Look, let me dream, okay? But to see everybody come together after all that good planning, this was like, it was like a party. I mean, there were some hiccups. It was a little nervous at the first day, but once that first day was over with, it was a party. You know, it was an artistic party to go from letter to letter and to see that everybody had kind of worked out the kinks of whatever they were going to do. It was wonderful. And then when the rain started hitting us, it was crazy to watch all these people of different races and backgrounds to stop painting and work together to cover this thing up, to protect this sacred monument, scurry off like roaches when the light comes on to these little dry corners of these spaces, wait out this rain. And I wish we would have got pictures of that, of everybody just standing around, you know, next to each other, you know, not social distancing. And then, you know, once the sun broke out, we all ran back out there and got back into it. I mean, that was so live to see that. I loved it. So I don't even know what your question was, but I'm sorry. It was
Look at you being me.
the spirit moved me.
That's
Let
great.
him do it.
I know one thing that you think from us not collaborating beforehand, you had no idea what I was capable of because you were like all concerned. You were
Yeah, well, I wasn't concerned. I see this thing is, I always tell people after the Black Lives Matter mural, I don't think there's anything that Black Art Speaks cannot do, or any of the members in the group, any of the artists in that group. If you can pull that off, I mean, everything else has been, I mean, that was a true faith building experience right there. So you just gotta have to give it to him and let him take care of it. And so the only thing I was worried about with Latausha was that she was, you know, little super quiet, little church mouse in the corner. She don't, I'm not gonna say anything. And then all of a sudden she starts painting, and in half a day she's got this whole like portrait rendering of this person's face. I was like, who in the hell left the gate open?
Leave her alone. Let her work.
I said, who in the world? And so I just kept to watch everybody just kind of, you know, and of course you got Cedric. Cedric is over here like, you know, and I heard him say like, let me go see if I can sneak some blue in them. I know Brandon said green. throw some red on this too. And I was like, look, I'm just gonna let Cedric's the man. I'm gonna let Cedric do his thing, and I know it's gonna be fire. So it was all good. So to watch everybody grow, you know, from wherever they were at, it was just a beautiful thing altogether.
Sounds great. And you know, you mentioned the pressure of like, it's such an immense project. This is more for kind of the group here. Did any of you guys kind of feel that as well? Even just working on your own letter, like, oh my God, you know, everybody's going to see this. I think most of some of you have kind of worked just kind of on your own art, but were you ever feeling that pressure at any point of kind of like, oh my God, like this is for a movement that's kind of going throughout the world. It's a huge project for the city. I know, Asha, you kind of raised your hand. How was that experience?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, for quite a bit of time, I was very inward. Like, I think the pressure didn't really hit until I think right before we started, we were saying a prayer and just talking about like, no, you guys, this is gonna be big. Like, it's gonna be a big deal. And I'm like, oh shoot. Like, I was very much focused on my thing and what's a design I know I could execute in this very short amount of time. Like, and then it was like right before we start, we kind of took a step back and was like, oh no, this is like big. And it's not just about what I'm doing. It's about what the whole project's going to look like. And more importantly, what this project means. Like, I felt the pressure when I saw the kids, I was about to call them babies, but just the children that walk past and would be like, Black Lives Matter. And this is so cool. And I'm like, this is why I'm here. This has to be great. We have to work together. This has to be amazing it's for the people. Like, it's not for me. So I'm going to get emotional. It was real dope, man.
Yeah. I actually, so today I was teaching, because I said I'm student teaching. So my lesson this week has been on art as activism. And so I actually talked about the mural and showed examples and the video from it. And when I was preparing for the lesson, I think it was sometime last week and even this earlier this week, I was watching the video and I just started crying. I just got really like overwhelmed with emotion. And I'm like, this happened so long ago, but it's so fresh. Just looking at the video, looking at the, hearing the words, watching the process of it all, and then thinking about the relationships that I have now, and just the changes. As far as like being in that moment, I didn't feel any pressure. I kind of thrive on that, like short turnarounds and doing something amazing. That's where I thrive. It's like, because in that moment, I felt like I was at the spa. Like, I just relax. I become very peaceful, and I can just sit there and just sit there in the sun and paint is like my happy place. So I was just chill. And so like nothing, I was not stressed at all. I'm like, this is going to be done. It's going to be wonderful. The end. And so, but now it's like the reflection of it gets me all caught up. It's not that time being in that moment didn't really do anything to me. But now looking at it and constantly the reminder of it and talking about it, that's what gets me all choked up and emotional.
How have you guys seen, I think someone kind of mentioned, your names are associated with this huge act of activism, this project that has been displayed for, if not kind of the state or the region, the city itself. How have you seen the community after that react to the mural?
I know I've seen a great deal of love from it. I've also seen the converse. So I'd rather focus though on those that are positive. So I'd say from my students that I've either taught or that are in workshops of mine, they're super excited when they find out. Or I had the same story as Asha, where I left a corporate America career and pursued my arts organization full time. So it helped with branding myself. It kind of was that solidification of, you know what, you are an artist, maybe just a little bit. So that was refreshing, having peers reach out from my past career and say, I saw you on the news. Like, that's pretty cool. But more importantly, it was important to show others that you can. And I think Vinay doesn't even realize one of those instances, just with me meeting her, seeing her draw on her iPad, encouraged me to do more graphic work, because I do it, but I was like, I'm a little nervous about even saying I'm a graphic artist and drawing on my iPad. So I got a new iPad and started drawing even more because I was inspired by seeing her do it. She's like, oh, just draw, it's fine. So seeing those instances of where we've made an impact within the community just by doing what God has given us, just the gift that he placed in our hands, has been more refreshing and just encouraging for me and more inspirational. And I think that feedback that we're receiving is just more fuel to continue doing that. And that's what this mural has done for me. I don't know if you guys would agree or disagree, but.
Well, to kind of follow up with that question, for Cedric, you're a veteran in the city and kind of the art world as well, specifically. How has this project, in relation to kind of Black art being involved within the city, or just kind of in general as activism work, is different from past projects?
Well, I think what's unfortunate, a lot of the same issues that we're dealing with in society have not changed. I think, Latausha said something about this idea that there haven't been a lot of African American art groups, and there were actually. Me being a bit older or whatever, I've interacted with a lot of the older generation artists, and there were a couple of other groups. I can't name them right now, but Joyce Young and Gilbert Young, they worked together, husband and wife, and they did a mural that's on the wall where Taft meets, I believe, where Taft meets, Highland Avenue. It was done in the 70s. Artworks redid the mural, and there were several art groups in Cincinnati that were doing big exhibitions and big shows at the Contemporary Arts Center. But after a while, it just went away. And I think, through the politically correctness of the 90s and everything's all right, just don't worry, be happy or whatever, everything kind of got shoved under. And you know what I mean? It just kind of went away. But I think now there's obviously a resurgence of people wanting to hear, our voice, what we have to say. I've been fortunate enough as an abstract artist to have my work transcend different genres and different groups and whatever, and just kind of ride that wave for me as a professional. But I remember experiences where artists actually wanted to show in certain places, certain venues, and hearing their stories of, oh, maybe for just Black History Month, we can have a show there. I remember there were two galleries right next to each other. One exhibited African American art, and the other was, mainstream contemporary, non-African American art or whatever. And they asked, let's collaborate. And the gallery, the non-Black gallery, was like, well, maybe during Black History Month, you can do something. And it's almost insulting. It is insulting, not almost, it is. So what I'm seeing now is us being recognized for ability, no matter what we do, no matter what, if it has a political stance or not. I think organizations and people and businesses are now seeing our voice as not only valid but vital to their existence, to their success, because we buy, we sell, we trade, we consume, and we have creativity, and we are part of this world. And so I'm hoping when the smoke clears, if it does clear, it can be argued, what's happening in the streets, violence and all this stuff, and police brutality. There's a lot of political issues that can be argued, but what cannot be argued and debated is everybody has a right to think freely, create freely, and should have every opportunity to do so at any time, regardless of what's happening politically or not. And hopefully more opportunities come our way and everybody else's way who's African American artists in the city. And I hope this movement will catapult that change. So.
To follow up with that a little bit, have you seen any or know of any kind of maybe organizations or people who have really taken on that idea of, okay, we're not just going to celebrate our Black community, our Black artists, our Black members just during a month or during a day, but kind of really taking that initiative to be an inclusive organization or inclusive company or group, and kind of involve you throughout, be that vital voice that they know that they need?
I think Kennedy Heights Art Center, if you ask me that question, yeah, you're right, Latausha, that's her place. That has always been a place that gave me a chance as an art educator. And that's, I don't really want to look at the ones that are jumping on the bandwagon. I'm concerned about the ones that actually have been doing it, because they act as a model. And then when I think of organizations like Artworks, Kennedy Heights Art Center, and Clifton Culture Art Center, art centers and places of business that actually do outreach within the communities, to do outreach within the schools. Clifton Culture Art Center, they used to do programming in Avondale before COVID, and they had a relationship with not just being a hub in that community, but reaching out to the surrounding communities. So I think those are good examples of how we can integrate, creative thought amongst all people in all races. Artworks, hands down, since day one, I mean, it's just an amazing thing. I mean, I was a project manager for Mural, and just to see a kid from Mason with a kid from Avondale talk and conversate and relate to each other. I mean, unfortunately, I went to, predominantly white schools, so these experiences, are natural to me. But at the same time, to see this experience happen for these other people, it's just amazing, and it's going to be something that's going to be memorable for the rest of our lives. And that we need more experiences like that. We need to find our likenesses rather than our differences, and celebrate our differences in a way, but at the same time celebrate our humanity. That's when you're going to see change.
Has anybody else kind of experienced that as well, whether it be after this mural or any groups that they want to kind of shout out to that has, included your guys' community and your guys' voice from kind of get-go day one?
I'll shout one out. Definitely, I think Elements, they've been doing the work as far as building up the community around them, the neighborhood of OTR, and trying to give the community an outlet to be creative and to learn other different types of art forms. They reached out to me. So I did an exhibit at the Mohawk Gallery called Manifestations of Time, in which I had Brandon was a part of the exhibit, had that piece right behind you in the show, and G. Horton. And because of their relationship with Elements, Tom Kent came to the show, and we were able to partner together to do some, like a visit to the gallery where people who were involved in Elements, the students, were able to come into the gallery and talk to some of the artists that were a part of the show. So from that relationship, after the mural, they reached out to me to curate an exhibit that was a community exhibit featuring art from the community to tell the story of how COVID has impacted them specifically. So that's just an example of a ton of the work that they do for the community, that they continue to do to invest in art and artists and their community. So definitely shout them out.
That's great. To answer a few, we have some questions in the Q&A. Just to address those here. One specifically for Vinay, asking if the symbol in the middle of your letter, and I'm gonna butcher this name, Adinkra symbol. Is that how you say that?
You did say it right. Yes, that is what it is.
What does that mean? I'll pull it up
That
here
one
too.
that one in particular is the symbol for freedom and emancipation. So, like I said, I wanted her to be looking towards some kind of hope. So I was Googling different symbols or something that I could put there, and that one did come up. So that one does mean freedom and emancipation.
Okay, awesome. And then someone asked, are there future iterations of the project at all that you guys know of, or anything involved with, Blink, the future of Blink? It's kind of hard to say what's going to happen in the future nowadays, or billboard representations, anything kind of segueing off of this project?
So the group Black Art Speaks is actually, we've got a lot of things in the works. And Alandis has a whole lot of ideas. We've been in talks with the city about some things, but we are working diligently on a nonprofit arm of Black Art Speaks. So even though we did the mural and that was huge and it was historic, I think the bigger thing that's going to happen out of all this is going to be the nonprofit and the community outreach that happens from the nonprofit arm of Black Art Speaks. So those things are being handled by Alandis Powell and Tashana Odebile. And so we will be, disclosing some things in the near future. But if there are any other, if people would like to, get involved and help us with some things, please contact Alandis Powell about that. But yeah, there's definitely some things in the works. And I guess kind of looking at some of the questions here, somebody talked about the vandalism that happened on the piece and how that made us feel. Everybody, of course, we didn't like that happened. But at the same time, we all knew that doing this piece was not going to be the end. And we knew that doing the Black Lives Matter mural and having this group Black Art Speaks was actually going to be the beginning of us getting out in the community and doing something positive and creative and artistic with people all around the tri-state area that you can't throw no can of paint on. You can't throw a can of paint on that. You can try, but you can't throw a can of paint on the positivity that's going to happen in the relationships that are built. You can't do anything to that. So that's what's going to be in the works coming up here for Black Art Speaks.
Sounds great. Can't wait. I think, that's all the questions we have, and it's about 7 here. I want to thank you guys again for doing this. We've kind of heard a little bit about, the making of the mural and kind of, the things that happen a little bit after that. It's kind of, not great that the vandalism and kind of the others, the not so great news is more of the prominent news. And I love that we were able to kind of hear your guys' positive experiences behind the mural, creating the mural and moving forward from it. So thank you so much again for doing this. Any shout outs or any last words from anybody?
And just say thanks for the opportunity. This work will continue, and this was just the beginning for us. I would encourage you to go to blackartspeaks.com if you want to support the work of the mural. If you'd like a yard sign, they are for sale. If you would like prints of the mural, they are for sale. Shirts will become available very soon. So if you're looking for a great Christmas gift for someone, blackartspeaks.com. And thank you for those of you that have already purchased yard signs. If you want to learn more about the artist and the work that we're doing, we're posting videos there. So go to blackartspeaks.com and just continue to support Black artists, Black creators, those that are in the city doing amazing things. Let's create those opportunities. And this is just one of those many chances that we've had to do that. So keep looking and support talent and lift as we climb.
Adoria, what's our social handles?
Oh, that's a great question. So we are also on Facebook and Instagram under Black Art Speaks. So we are social butterflies. If you go to our website and click the icons down at the bottom, they will take you directly to our socials. But like and follow, please, please, please. And for those of you that are looking for educational opportunities to provide to your students, to your children, and I've had parents that were going down to the mural and I caught conversations, that's the place to go. Go to blackartspeaks.com. Our education chair, Latausha Speaks, is doing amazing things. So just stay tuned for more. And if you want to see more from us, follow our Instagrams and our handles. You can find that by going to Black Art Speaks and looking at each of us individually, because we are all doing amazing things here in the city. And it's your support that helps. And know that we did this in love. That's my last point, my personal point. All of this was done in love, and our hearts were poured out in it. So just, if anyone says this was done negatively, no. There was nothing about this that was negative. It was a positive experience, and it was done to show others how we feel about our community, and hopefully to create those same feelings, those same emotions. That's all.
Sounds great. Yeah, everyone visit Black Art Speaks. I want to thank this panel discussion was put on by the Cincinnati Emerging Art Leaders, and the two organizations that mainly fund the group is Cincinnati Arts Association and Arts Wave. They sponsor kind of our events throughout the year. So thank you to them for sponsoring the committee and being able to kind of bring you guys to this space and to hear your experiences. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and everyone have a great hump day the rest of your Wednesday night. And follow up Black Art Speaks, Cincinnati Emerging Art Leaders, to see kind of what's coming next. You guys.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.